Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to the second lecture in the series on FinTech. In the first lecture, we got a sense of the lay of the land. What do we mean by FinTech? Why is it called FinTech? What does it comprise of? What are the domains which it touches upon? How is the difference? Because finance has existed for a long time and technology also has evolved for a period of time. We saw that FinTech brings the two together. So, how is this different from the way it was done earlier? As mentioned in the previous talk, financial industry has been leveraging technology very heavily. Lot of innovations in finance and in technology also have come due to the needs of catering to the needs of the finance and security industry. So, we have seen how FinTech is different from all of those things. We looked at some of the key technologies which form the foundation of what we call as FinTech. Even though as mentioned, there is no clear difference between a product, a service and technology in FinTech. They all seamlessly merge into one single phenomenon. Underlying technologies are quite different. So, we take a brief look at what are those technologies that FinTech builds upon. We looked at the various functions that are affected by FinTech. As the WEF framework says, there are 6 functions of financial services, and how does the various innovations happening in the FinTech industry are affecting these 6 domains like insurance, capital raising, things like that. We also looked at some of the new products, new concepts which have come up solely due to FinTech like cryptocurrencies. We have seen some of the effects of FinTech, like the way FinTech can we called it as a disruptive technology because it disrupts the way we do business. We saw one example of crowdfunding, we saw one more example of credit cards, and finally, we saw in the previous lecture some of the major benefits of FinTech, how it has made transactions faster, cheaper, more accessible, new ways of doing things, and how we can use this technology wherever we are, how accessible it has become. Various other benefits that FinTech has brought to us, and new products have come due to FinTech like cryptocurrencies, which has given us new ways to invest our money, for example, to generate wealth. And this is not the end, it will continue to be evolving, it still is in a very formative stage. Many of the one indicator of how fast growing and early stage a business is or a domain is the number of startups coming, and today we could say FinTech is the domain, FinTech is the area where the maximum number of startups are constantly coming up with new and new innovations. Many of them are getting absorbed, some of them are disrupting the business so much, they are replacing existing players, and in some cases existing players are modifying themselves to deal with this new phenomenon. So, and we also saw that FinTech draws upon different domains. FinTech has to deal with regulations. That is one of the key characteristics of this new technological domain called FinTech, because unlike many other technological domains where they have come up with new phenomenon which regulators have not foreseen, FinTech is one area the regulations are quite strong. So, FinTech has to work with the existing regulatory framework, and many of the rules that apply in the regular field also apply to the FinTech field. But otherwise it is disrupting business very significantly, and it has to deal with these areas. It depends on cryptography for security. So, we have to understand that aspect. It depends on software and hardware for us to run our programs. It depends on new innovations in the computing field like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, like big data and analytics. These are all innovations happening on the computing field. So, FinTech has to borrow from that field also. There is also innovation on user interface. Voice recognition is a common thing today. Touch tone recognition, which did not exist, is happening today. So, FinTech is able to leverage on those. So, fintech is a highly multidisciplinary industry, and those people who want to be in this fintech field, especially managers, have to understand how all these pieces fit together to bring us all these benefits, bring us not just benefits as they exist today, new benefits which we will think of, new ways of affecting our lives. As managers, we need to understand the various interaction between these areas, and of course, interaction with the financial industry itself. How do they define finance? What are the key characteristics of finance? How is that people make money in the finance industry? How do we deal with finance? How do we deal with international finance? All these are aspects people have to understand if you have to understand the concept of fintech. So, in this lecture, we will take a brief look at the foundation of fintech, that is money. Fintech deals with money, finance deals with money and technology. So, before we come to technology, we need to understand what money is as common people. Though many of the concepts in this class have been drawn from economics, this is not a class in economics, just make sense of what we understand about this thing called money. What is money? Why does it exist? How it has made a change to do business. So, we will take a very brief look. As I said, economists, those who are interested can refer to economic books, articles to understand this concept better. This is a highly simplified look at, as common people, what is that we need to understand about money and how the role of money changes in the fintech world. Fintech has to deal with money, but fintech has certain drawbacks, and how technology has some drawbacks dealing with money, how fintech has dealt with that. So, that is the reason why we need to spend some time on the origin of money, how it came about, how it is being used, and where is it evolving towards. First of all, what is the need for money? Why do we need money? I mean, if I ask somebody, will say to buy things. Yes, we need money to buy things, but is that how it started? Not really. Let us look at that. Historically, barter, it started off with barter. I mean, economists will give us a much more detailed and colorful explanation. It has helped us specialize in our activities, led to trading and various things, but for us, let us think about barter. How did barter work? I am here person A, I am dealing with person B. I grow mangoes. So, I have too many mangoes. I cannot eat mangoes alone directly every day. So, I would like to sell, I would like to give B my mangoes and get something in return. Let us say B grows pumpkins. So, we work out a deal. I will give mango, you give me pumpkin. No money involved, goods. This is called barter. I give you something. It could be services too. I need a haircut. I call my village barber, he gives me a haircut, I give him 2 mangoes in return. So, this barter, no money is involved. Once I give you the mango, do what you want. But there is a drawback with that. What if I do not need pumpkins? Or what this gentleman produces sand. I mean, that is another activity, right? We produce gravel, sand, stones for construction. So, I give him mangoes and he gives me 10 bags of sand. That is what he produces. I do not need that. I may need something else. I mean, I do not even need a pumpkin. Pumpkin is, as we know, normally is a vegetable, not a staple food. I can make sabji out of that. I can make some types of our sambar in south out of pumpkin. Beyond that, I cannot use it in the place of rice. I cannot use it in the place of anything, but that is what barter does. It limits our options. I give you something you have, you give me something I have, then I have to go to somewhere else. So, what if I actually did not need a pumpkin? You needed mangoes, I will send you mangoes, but I do not want to accept a pumpkin. I do not need that. And this basic thing is what is called as a transaction, a barter transaction. We buy and sell. In barter, a buy and sell are joined together. They are, those two are not two separate processes that limits our capabilities. I only have to accept pumpkin. Let us take it in the way we understand a transaction today, how it has evolved. Still there are two parties, A and B. I give mangoes, I sell mangoes to you, B, person B, but I do not want a pumpkin. So, you give me something, I can use it with a third party. I can use this as a third party, and that is what we call as money. Why does this become acceptable? So, what do I do with that? You give me 2 pieces of paper adding up to some 10 rupees, 20 rupees, whatever price we have negotiated for the mango. I take that to a third party. Now I have mango, I have rice from somewhere, I need to cook my rice. For that I need to start my oven. So for that I need a match. Simple thing, very simple transaction. I have to cook my rice, I need to light my oven, I need a match. So I go to a person C who has matches. Now he may not accept a pumpkin, but now I got in a piece of paper from B, he is willing to accept that. So I gave him, out of two pieces of paper he gave, I give one to him and he gives me a box of matches. Suddenly the options available to me are much higher, and C can take that, and if you want to buy clothes, he can take this to take it to somebody else who is willing to accept this piece of paper, and he can go to some third party D and buy a pair of trousers, shorts. Give him the notes, he will give him the shorts. So this is a transaction now. So that is the first use of money. So money can do some things. It has removed barter. Now we can use this as a medium to convert a barter transaction into a proper transaction, where B is buying mangoes, I am selling mangoes to him and he gives me money, and I use that money to buy something I want, from somebody who sells what I want. He is selling matches, I buy matches using this money. So this was one big change. It removed transactions, it expanded our options, but now you may ask, why do we all accept this piece of paper? It could be even a metal coin also, for example. I mean, we do use coins, right? We use 1 rupee coin, 10 rupee coin and all. First of all, actually coin came, then the paper money came. Why do they accept it? What is the guarantee? For guarantor, the issuer comes. In India, for example, this piece of paper which says 100, 20, 50 on it, you accept it. This says this is a 200 rupee note. I mean, I do not think I will pay 200 rupees for a match, box of matches, but let us keep it with it, let us for the sake of argument. Person C is willing to accept this at value of 200 rupees because we have a body called the Reserve Bank of India, owned by the government of India, which says I assure you. The Reserve Bank of India guarantees. We will see what this means. It is called fiat money, which plays a key role in all discussions about cryptocurrency, but there is a sovereign authority which guarantees that this piece of paper is worth 200 rupees. In the old days, we had kings, right? They issued their own coins. They they imprinted their name, they cast the name, I mean photo or visage on the coin. Because of that we trust them. We say some Krishna Devaraya guaranteed this value to be 5 nishkas. So one mango is 1 nishka. So we had some sovereign authority who guaranteed that the value of this is. Once we have that assurance, we can do all the transactions today, and we have agreements between international authorities, between Reserve Bank of India and the Federal Reserve, which will decide that 200 rupees is equal to $3, $4, things like that. So that is one need of money now. To get away from a barter economy, we can use money to do transactions like buy and sell, not necessarily do both with the same party. I am selling something to B, this is a sell, and I am buying. So I can do things with different parties, different ages. I can even keep my money. I can keep my money, save it, give it to my son, he will use it 1 month later. So money, we need money for doing our transactions in the modern world. This is a very primitive world, this is the more modern world. It helped us move away from the barter way of doing things. So is that the only function of money? As it turns out, economists have identified 3 functions of money predominantly. There are others too. These are 3 key functions. If you read any basic text on economics, they will say money has to fulfill 3 functions. One is the medium of exchange. If we go back to the previous example, I am selling mangoes and I want to buy matches. There are 2 different parties. What we use it to exchange? Here I am exchanging mangoes for pumpkin, which this fellow may not need. So I am converting mangoes into a medium called money, he is willing to accept that money and exchange a box of matches for me. So, first and foremost as a medium of exchange. I give mango, get money, I can use the same money to get a haircut matches I have you. I do not have to give whatever I receive in exchange for mangoes to this person. So, if I give pumpkin, I have to give pumpkin, not necessarily. I can get money, money fulfills that role, I give it to my barber to get a haircut, and we can use it to buy what he needs, rice and fuel and gas and what have you. So, first function of money is medium of exchange. Second function of money, unit of account. We can measure things in terms of this money. Again go back, here I am measuring the value of mango in terms of pumpkin today. Tomorrow if I sell mango to somebody who makes knives, he is an ironsmith making knives, if I give him mangoes, value of mango is measured in terms of knives. There is no standard, there is no consistency. For that reason money fulfills that need by becoming a unit of account. I can say one mango is worth so much in money, something else is also equal in so much of money. So, now I can find the ratio between the two. I can get an idea of what is item B worth in terms of item A, and we do not even have to worry about it. We have a common unit. I can measure the value of everything in terms of this common unit. I can say we negotiate a price that I get a mango and I sell a mango, I get 20 rupees and I buy a matchbox paying 10 rupees. So, we are estimating the value of every item, every service. My haircut is worth 15 rupees in terms of this common thing called money, rupees in our case. So, money is a unit of account. Internally I can do a math and say one mango is worth 2 matchboxes. And the third as the store of mango. Again let us go back, money must keep its value. Take this example, if I get pumpkin in return for mango, after 5 days if I do not use it, it will go bad. Some of the pumpkins last longer, generally let us assume pumpkin lasts for a week. If I do not have a use for the pumpkin for the week, it does not keep its value, it deteriorates, or in some cases value may go up also, good for us. But generally money should keep it should act as a store of value. If I have 50 lakhs today in my bank account in 2010, at 2020 at a minimum its value should be 50 lakhs, which is true. If I had 50 lakhs earlier, the value does not decay. Even after 10 years my bank account will actually show 50 lakhs. I mean there are many reasons why we want it to be more than that. I will not go into that, but at a minimum if I put 50 lakhs in the bank, money remains as 50 lakhs. These are the 3 features, the functions that money has to fulfill, not just for barter, replacing barter, it has to act as a medium of exchange, it has to act as a unit of account, it has to act as a store of value. There are other characteristics that experts will identify, but for us these 3 are good enough. In addition, they also have identified 4 desirable features for money to function properly. For money, currency, I will use the word money and currency as equivalents. Money is the idea, money is the basic concept. The way we implement it is in the form of currency, either coins or notes and what have you. It should have 4 characteristics. For short, it is called as acid, A, C, I, D. The A comes from this, C comes from this, I comes. Incidentally, for those of you who might be watching it with a background in computer science or IT, acid is also a desirable feature of databases. So, you can see actually money is data. So, when we say money is data, data is money, here is one example. These are the 4 desirable characteristics of databases also. So, that is called acid. First is atomic, transaction has a whole. For a transaction to be complete or whole, I should give you money, I should give you a mango, you give me money. One half cannot happen. If I give you a mango, you do not give me money, transaction will not happen. So, for money to be to fulfill its function, every transaction has to happen in one single, as if it is one single thing, atomic, buy and sell. I give something, get money in exchange, or even when we are exchanging money to dollars, I give rupees, I get dollars, both are money. The transaction is between two units of two different types of money, give rupees, get dollars, they both have to happen together as a whole. They cannot happen in two different pieces. It is not like I give you money now and you give me dollars later. Transaction has to happen in one, till then the transaction is not complete. So, transaction has to be atomic. Each transaction has to happen by itself, both ends. So, in computing industry, for example, in databases, this is a very big problem, atomicity. That is, what happens if I have given you the money, or the transaction has happened if I have given you the money, I mean a mango. The equivalent in the computing industry is, I have made an entry saying that I have given, transferred 5 mangoes to person B. That record is made in the database. Now you take the mango and run away. Transaction is incomplete. In the computing industry, the equivalent was, in A, I have 10 mangoes in my account, person B had 0, I have transferred 5 mangoes to person B. So, end of first half of the transaction, person A has 5 mangoes, person B has 5 mangoes. Earlier person B had 10 rupees or 50 rupees or whatever, that 50 rupees has to come here. At the end of it I should have 5 and 50. Now, this part of the transaction has happened, transfer of 5 mangoes. This 50 rupees that person B should get transferred to A, and power fails. When the power fails, what will happen? A will show 5 mangoes, B will show 5 mangoes with 50 rupees. This transfer is not atomic. Either it should happen in full, that means at the end of the full transaction it should reflect 5 mangoes in the accounts of B and 50 rupees in the account of A. This is the transaction. Whole thing has to happen, or it should not happen at all. We should revert to the old situation where A had 10 mangoes and B had 50 rupees. So, how it happens in computing? In real life you go catch that fellow and get the money back, something like that, if you can outrun him. In computing what happens, if power fails after this part of the transaction is done, it is reverted back. So, it reverted back to the original situation. The transaction will not be written and made complete till it reflects the final state. A 5 mangoes, 50 rupees, B 5 mangoes. Either it comes to this state or it goes back to this state, one of the two states. This is how we implement atomicity in computing. Money also should be the same. Every transaction with money has to happen as a whole. So, money should support that. Various ways, we actually, how do we do? That fellow puts money on the counter and we put the mango on this side. Various ways ensure that. Second is, transactions have to be consistent. If we exchange, if we fix up the rate, let us say for 1 week the price of mango is 10 rupees each. Every day you come and buy 5 mangoes from me, every day you should give me 50 rupees. So, the repeated actions should repeat in identical. Every day you give me 5 currency notes of 10 rupee each, its value is 50 rupees. So, every transaction should be consistent. When you do a transaction repeatedly, whenever I transfer 5 mangoes to your account, 50 rupees will get transferred. You can transfer 5 notes adding up to 50 rupees. So, another characteristic of that is true with currency money, because 10 rupees, unless this piece of note paper which RBI says is 10 rupees in India, it will remain 10 rupees. So, if you give me consistently give 5 notes to me every time, its value will always be 50 rupees, consistency. Isolation, a transaction here should not affect any transaction elsewhere. Suppose I sell money and mango and grapes, I give you 10 mangoes, you give me 50 rupees, transaction is complete. I do it every day for 5 days, consistent. Whatever happens here should not affect the transaction here. I had 10 kgs of grapes to sell, it will not affect the quantity of grapes, it should not affect the value of grapes. A transaction affecting mango should affect only mango between you and me, not even between 2 other parties. If somebody is if you buy the same 5 mangoes from somebody paying 60 rupees, that is not affected by what happens here. only related transactions are affected. At the end of this transaction, my number of mangoes comes down, my amount of rupees goes up, your amount of rupees comes down, your amount of mangoes goes up, nothing else is affected, no other party, no other person. That is what we mean by transaction happening in isolation. Also a desirable characteristic for databases. If we update one field in database field, no other field should get affected. Fourth is durable. The transaction is permanent. Once I sell you the mangoes and you give me the currency, there should not be any legal way in which you can take the money away from me for this transaction. So, transaction when it happens for good, whether you consume the mangoes or lose it does not matter, it is permanent. So, that is another feature, desirable feature, which money fulfills. If I get the 5 currency notes, there is no way short of you stealing it from me. The 50 rupees remain with me, it becomes durable. I can give it back to you out of pity, but that is not out of part of the transaction. So, these are the 4 desirable features of money. Money has to fulfill 3 functions: medium of exchange, unit of value and store of value. It should also have these 4 characteristics. Again remember, asset, these 4 characteristics in almost exactly the same definition applies to data also. So, in that sense the concept of money is very similar to data, asset. There are various other terms people throw in called money supply, total amount of cash available for circulation. In the next slide we will see why we need to know a little about this, why it is important. Economists, if you read economic journals like Economic Times or Financial Times and things like that, they will use terms like M1 money supply, M2 money supply, some of them go up to M6, M7 and all. Just for the sake of illustration, I have included two definitions of M1 and M2. M1 refers to spendable currency, cash. Total amount of money in circulation is cash in various forms. M1 is called spendable cash, which includes currency notes in circulation and the amount of money in savings accounts, also called demand deposits, which can be easily converted into. If I have money, if I have wealth in the form of my home may be worth 50 lakhs today. That is not spendable cash, it is not available to me now. I have to do a transaction, sell my home to somebody, get cash or some other equivalent, then it becomes spendable. So, when we say M1 supply of money, it refers to currency and demand deposits. M2 is spendable plus convertible, whatever is available to spend, which can, and second with money which can be converted into spendable currency quickly, which includes FDs. We can break the FD, convert it into cash, which includes currency, safety deposits or demand deposits, fixed deposits, money market mutual funds. The mutual funds called money market, where actually what the amount is lent and traded is money, which can be converted into cash immediately, savings deposit. So, this is M1 and M2. Again, in the next couple of slides, I will explain why in fintech we need to look at this number, because these concepts lead to what is called inflation and deflation in a rough manner, and that is very important in cryptocurrencies. Many cryptocurrencies we will learn later are by design deflationary. So, we need to understand what is deflation. So, before that we need to understand what is money supply. Money supply is not the equivalent of wealth. How much cash is available for circulation is independent of total wealth we have, but it is a measure. It is a measure available, money as a tool of exchange which is available for spending. And even then there are variations in that, let us not worry about it. Why is it important? For what they call as macroeconomic equilibrium. I am no economist, I come from the IT field, but this term they apply because this is the reason why we need to understand money supply. It requires that the demand for money equals supply of money. As with classical economics, when a transaction happens, when there is a meeting between demand and when the price is agreed upon, where the demand is equal to supply. That is the price is the common joining point at which demand equals to supply. Same thing applies in the case of money also. Demand, they say money supply is important because we need to make sure that demand for money equals supply for money. What happens if it is not? We will see that in the case of inflation. Keep that in mind when we go to this, that this concept of money supply comes into demand and supply and inflation. Okay. So, let us look at, already we have seen two types of money, right. We have seen coins, we have seen currency notes, already two types of money. I mean, though both are considered cash, they are in two physical forms, right. We will see what other ways we can classify money, how are the other ways we can look at money. One is token money, both currency notes and coins. Historically, when we moved away from barter, we went into token money. There will be coins imprinted with the photo of the king, name, history, year of reign. We have found coins from the Ashoka period, from the Gupta period, things like that. Then they say coins require metal to make. Far easier is to print it on a notion of paper and guarantee its value. We call it as paper money, currency notes. They say historically currency notes, paper money was invented in China. Coins have been minted across the world. There are coins from India found in the Middle East when they do archaeological digs, things like that. This is called token money. Money is represented by a token. For example, this particular piece of coin in India made of an alloy of nickel, steel and all, it may say 5 rupees on it. So far as all practical purposes we are concerned, it is the equivalent of a piece of paper also which says 5 rupees, the value represented. However, the value of the metal might be more than 5 rupees. There is one famous story, I will not name that protagonist, where this person discovered that the silver rupee had more than 1 rupee worth of silver in that. So, he bought silver rupees paying 1 rupees paying in cash currency or in some other format, melted that and recovered its value from the value of the silver. If there is 1 rupee worth, the coin said 1 rupee, if you melt it, the silver you get out of it may have been worth 3 rupees. So, there is one famous case, one famous businessman is supposed to have done this. I think it was made in a movie also, if I am right. So, such a thing is possible, that the value is only 1 rupee, say 1 rupee, its value is 1 rupee, cost of the metal in it may be more, it is different from that. Whereas 1 rupee piece of paper may be worth only 5 paise, but still the denominated value is 1 rupee. So, such a thing is called token money. Second is what is called notational money. There is no token. Or bank account. If I take my bank statement, it says I have 4,65,000 rupees in my account. Is it in the form of currency notes? Is it in the form of coins? No. It is there just as an entry in my ledger. They maintain what are called ledgers for various accounts. In my account, the ledger for my account, it says I have 4,65,000 rupees. It exists as a note, because they say I take the value, that is all. When I actually go there, they have to convert that notational money into token money. They have to convert it into cash in currency notes, coins or what have you, but till then it remains as a, it does not remain in the form of notes or coins, it remains in the form of a number entered there. For example, here beginning balance, my bank south side any found statement for June 2004, the beginning balance 875. This actually in dollars, $817. Does it exist in physical form? No. It is money still. If I go to the bank, they will convert it and give me dollars, rupees or whatever. But so far till I go to the bank, issue a pay slip or a withdrawal slip, it exists as a note made in the ledger. So, such kind of money, bulk of the money today exists in the form of notational money, and that is for say for a checking account or what is called a recurring account. For saving accounts, it says this person has $1,102, not in physical form, as a notational money. So, when I transfer money, when we do an online transfer, for example, I want to make my hotel booking, they say if I spend 5,000 rupees in advance, we use online transfer, we use NEFT or what have you. When I do that, the notational value of my account comes down by 5,000 rupees. If I had 1 lakh in my account, it now shows 95,000 rupees. The other person's account, if you had 5 lakhs, it shows 5 lakh 5,000 rupees. This kind of money is called notational money. Keep in mind that this is how bulk of money we deal with today exists. So, those are, we make them, we make the money, we put the value. In fact, going back to that silver rupee, we have studied in our history books that Muhammad bin Tughlaq replaced metal money with money made of leather, and we know what happened, everybody started making leather money. So, token money is made of some material, it need not be linked to the actual intrinsic value of the material. Token money says whatever is the value printed on the token is the value of that piece of token. Notational money exists in the form of notes, entries made. Third one, historically probably the first one, most important one, money in the form of gold. We both had gold coins themselves, gold itself being accepted like in a barter, because gold is exchangeable. So, gold as a money has been historically very accepted, and for a long time the amount of currency notes was indexed to the amount of gold in the country. Anyway, the advantages of gold is it is widely accepted. Gold's value historically has been accepted everywhere. In fact, there is a reference in Roman Senate proceedings where the senators are complaining that their value, the amount of gold they are having is depleting, because the Roman Empire is sending it to India to buy spices. There has been a big spice trading between India and Rome. Indians accepted gold as the currency even then. One empire, different continent, still gold was accepted. So, you send us one shipment of cardamoms and peppers and all, we will send you some 3 kgs of gold or what have them. So, gold as money has been historically very well accepted. Divisible, it can be divided to some extent, not fully. We know, for example, money has to be divisible. It is one of the desirable features, though not mentioned, it is one of the desirable features, especially in the case of token money. Somebody gives me a 1000 rupee note, on the way I want to buy a tea on the road stall, I want to buy one pani puri and tea, I have to pay him 50 rupees for that. We need to convert that 1000 rupees into smaller pieces, so I can give him 50 rupees. If I can give him 1000 rupees, he does not have change, no transaction will happen. So, money should be divisible. 1000 rupees can be divided into 1000 1 rupee notes or 100 10 rupee notes or 20 50 rupee notes. That is how money becomes more useful. And most of the standard currencies today can be divisible up to 1/100th value. Like a rupee can be divided into 1 paise, 1/100th of a rupee is called 1 paise. $1 can be divided into 1/100th of a dollar called a cent, and 1 pound can be divided into 1/100th of a pound called a penny. So, divisibility is one of the desirable characteristics of gold. It has it to some extent. Gold cannot be divided beyond certain point physically, but we can always, suppose I want to divide 1 tola of gold to 3 people, I can melt it down, make it into 3 small coins, each equal to 1/3 of a tola. So, I can fulfill the needs of 3 people using one single piece of gold. Incidentally, this form is again very important, because we will see that some of the newer forms of currency are highly divisible. So, one more reason why we need to understand what is the meaning of divisibility. So, a rupee cannot, suppose a value of something is less than 1 paise, we cannot buy that, we cannot even buy with anything with 1 paise today, but that is the limit of divisibility. For example, 1 cent is the equivalent of 70 paise, being a dollar being equal to, but we cannot use 1 cent to buy anything in the US. Easy to measure, gold is easy to measure, we assume, we come up with gold of certain purity, we measure. Same thing with currency, amount of notes we can count, the notation we can read, the coins we can count. Easy to carry normally, I mean we will not carry kilograms of gold, normal amounts easy to carry. Highly important, non-perishable. Gold is what is called a noble metal, does not change its qualities, does not rust, does not get corrupted by chemicals and all. Gold is highly non-perishable. That is the reason why olden people preferred that. If it took 3 months for a bar of gold to reach Rome from India, it will not deteriorate and lose its value. Some of the paper currency we know, paper currency wears out, tears. So, the issuing mechanism like Reserve Bank of India has a provision where we can take a torn note, soiled note to a bank and get a different note. Otherwise, money loses value, it should not be perishable. And gold cannot be another highly desirable feature. We cannot manufacture gold, it is impossible to forge. You can make counterfeit gold. In fact, in medieval times, whole field of science called alchemy, from which our chemistry derives today, was aimed at creating gold artificially. So valuable was gold, so important was it, and so difficult to forge, impossible. So people devoted their lifetime to find that way. Thankfully, they did not succeed. So these are some of the key characteristics, but also drawbacks. Gold is not available in abundance, not everywhere. This is not an unlimited supply of gold, it is not distributed uniformly, it is not highly divisible, there are drawbacks too, but historically gold also has been used as a form of money. We use the word gold standard coming from the same origin. Drawbacks: limited supply, supply cannot increase on demand, uneven distribution, could be deflationary. These two are linked. We will see about deflation, what is deflation in a later slide, but gold, one of the characteristics, interestingly again as I mentioned, some of the newer currencies also by design are like gold, they are deflationary. Another form of money is paper money, widely accepted, divisible, easy to produce, easy to carry. No, it is not non-perishable, it is perishable in some format or the other, and money can be produced on demand. Whenever we are short of money for whatever reasons, for economic reasons, to meet the growth in the economy, to growth in the transactions, RBI can print more and more money to keep more money in circulation. When we had demonetization, RBI had to print new currency notes to replace the, that was one case, money was exchanged for money. We brought in old 100 rupee note to the bank and we got a new 100 rupee notes. At that time RBI had to print new forms of currency in quickly. So, RBI process worked over time to produce the adequate amount of money to exchange for the old money being replaced. So, probably one of the more popular, even today paper money is very popular. Drawbacks: forgery, we constantly keep hearing about counterfeit currency. So, forgery is too easy with that and easy to produce. Easy to produce is both a plus and a minus. Easy to produce because makes it easy to produce and circulate, it also makes it easy to counterfeit at a lesser cost. But having said that, the features are highly desirable today and that is the most common way of currency, way we deal with gold in cash economies. But these are not the only ones. Historically, so many things have been used as currency. Historically, we have used seashells as currency. In fact, beads, the legend is that the Native Americans called Red Indians or American Indians, they used to use shells called wampum as currency. And this whole island of Manhattan, you see all those photos of New York with those skyscrapers and all, its legend is that the Dutchman Peter Minuit bought that whole island in exchange for dollars, a wampum estimated at equivalent of $24. The whole island was bought for $24 in the form of seashells, because they use seashells as their currency. People have used livestock, barter, like barter, they used livestock, they have measured everything. I will buy 1 acre of land and give you 100 cows. Precious stones, diamond, emerald, sapphire, various garnet, all these have been used in the form of coral, in the form of gold. Skulls, I hope not my country, I do not know which country it is, but I have used skulls, pearls, wheat, feathers, brass, silver, gold, paper money. In fact, if you go to Guinness Book of World Records, you will see that the biggest currency in the world is from this country of Yap, where they use huge millstones, carved stones as their currency. God knows who can carry that, but we can see that different things have been used to in the form of money, token money. That is one way. The other way of looking at money is what gives value for money. Gold has its intrinsic value. All the material items have their intrinsic value. They do not lose their value. I mean, they do not lose what they have. A pearl will remain a pearl for so many years, and its value is fixed if we accept. What gives a paper value of paper? If you see in the US, the characteristic thing is this is a $100 bill or $100 note. The $1 note also is exactly the same size. The picture is different, it says 1 there. So, how come the value of a piece of paper changes from 1000 to 1 in two different cases? That is because the central bank there called the Federal Reserve says so. Federal Reserve says the value of this piece of paper with a photo of George Washington is $1, this piece of paper with a photo of Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln with 100 is a 100 rupee dollar. Otherwise they are same size, the scripting wording is similar, the font is the same. What gives them the two different values? Because it is by order, it is called by fiat. The Federal Reserve guarantees that this dollar, this piece of paper produced this way with these fonts subject to certain checks and conditions is worth 100 rupees, it guarantees. So, if you take it to any bank, they will give you 100 $1 bills. Likewise, if you take a 1,000 rupee note to any bank in India, they will give you 2 500 rupee notes which will be the same size. So, that is one way. The value of money is not what is stored in that item itself, but guaranteed by a sovereign entity, some third party. In fact, it need not be a sovereign entity. Even today, for a long time, currency notes in the US were issued by banks. Even today, there is at least one country, Hong Kong, where the value of currency notes is the same, but they are actually issued by 3 different banks. 3 different banks, they actually say so. This is issued by Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank. This is issued by Hang Seng Bank. Notes are issued by different. It need not be by one single authority. Depending on how the power is devolved, different entities also may actually issue notes of the same value, like in the case of Hong Kong. In fact, Federal Reserve itself, there are 12 Federal Reserves. Okay. Fiat money is a government issued currency that is not backed by a commodity such as gold. The value is there because the government guarantees that. Fiat money gives central banks greater control over economy, because they can control how much money is printed. The governments would like to control the guarantee, and that kind of money who retains its value because of the guarantee from the sovereign authority is called fiat money. Most modern paper currencies such as the US dollar are fiat currencies, including our Indian rupee. So, that is one more form of money. It can be paper money, it can be the token money like coins. That coin, it may have more material, more nickel in it than 5 rupees, but its value is 5 rupees for transactions because RBI says so. That is fiat money. This is the key. The reason we need to understand about fiat money, because the modern cryptocurrencies are not fiat money, most of them. And one more thing we will learn later, the difference between cryptocurrencies and digital cash. What is called digital cash? Digital cash can be fiat money. For example, China is releasing its own cryptocurrency. They say it is actually not a cryptocurrency, it is called a digital cash. It works exactly like fiat money. Its money is equal to whatever the Chinese government says, but cryptocurrency is not. So, why do we worry about money supply and all? Because of this phenomenon called inflation and deflation. Deflation especially is important in the case of cryptocurrencies. So, let us briefly look at what is inflation. We keep constantly hearing the word inflation, we will understand what it is. Inflation refers to the rise in prices of most goods and services of daily or common use, such as food, clothing, housing, etc., over a period of time. Price of goods constantly keeps rising. We kept complaining. My barber, who used to charge 50 rupees for a haircut last year, has started charging 60 rupees here for the same service, takes in the same time, but I have to pay him more. This phenomenon of rise in prices is called inflation. This is too simplistic an explanation, but we will take it for granted. Inflation measures the average price change in a basket of commodities and services over time. To give a very simple example, in isolation, in the year 2020, the number of mangoes produced was 10 and the amount of rupees and supply was 100. The bank printed rupees, currency rupees worth 100. Let us take only 2 commodities, assume for simplicity only 2 things exist, rupees and mangoes. 10 mangoes were produced and the bank issued 100 rupees to buy those mangoes. So, we can do the calculation and say the price of mango was 10 rupees. Then next year in 2021, number of mangoes produced was the same, it produced only 10. In between, bank had released more money, it had released 10 more rupees into the market. So, there are now 110 rupees buying 10 mangoes. Now, cost of mangoes goes up to 11 rupees. Nothing has changed. Number of mangoes remains the same, the mango remains the same. Because of more money in supply, cost of mangoes has gone up. That is one way inflation has been caused. This phenomenon of price rise is referred to as inflation. Again, please, those of you who are from economics background, please understand this is a very simple explanation. It is a much more, most of you know better explanations than that, but for our purposes we need to understand the concept of inflation. It is simply the rise in prices. The opposite of that, deflation. Again, another very simplistic example I have taken. Deflation is a general decline in prices for goods and services, typically associated with a contraction in the supply of money and credit in the economy. During deflation, the purchasing power of currency rises over time, but the value of goods goes down. The purchasing power goes up, but the value received by providers goes down. So, it is not necessarily a very good thing, but this is how it happens. In 2020, there are 10 mangoes, 100 rupees, price of a mango remains at 10. In 2021, the number of mangoes produced has gone up to 11. If the amount of money in circulation remains 100, there is a deflation, cost of mango comes down. The growers get less money per mango because of deflation. So, this is one reason why, for example, banks may increase the amount of money supply. So, if it is increased to 110, if it goes up, then the price will remain at 10. This phenomenon of prices going down over a period of time is referred to as deflation. Economists debate whether which is better, what is the right value, various things. For us, for our purpose, we need to understand inflation and deflation. Deflation is important because some of the cryptocurrencies are deflationary in nature. So, we need to understand what happens when there is deflation, what it means. And some of the cryptocurrencies by design, they are designed to create deflation. Now, that is the money as we understand, cash, notational money, token money. Then in the form of currency, inflation, deflation, money supply. Now, we move to the modern era. Why can't we convert into a digital money? What does digital money mean in the first place? It has no physical existence. It is different from notational money. Notational money exists as a notation, as a number. My bank account says my opening balance is 8,000 rupees. I can go to a bank, issue a withdrawal slip and get 5,000 rupees in currency notes, in cash. It is only a number to denote this actual money, I can convert it. And in the old days, theoretically it was possible to take a dollar to the Federal Reserve and get the equivalent in gold. It was called denominated in gold. In case of digital cash, digital currency, money does not have a physical equivalent. It exists simply as a set of numbers. So, that is digital cash. That is different from cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency also is digital cash. If I say I have a Bitcoin, what do you have? You actually do not have any physical manifestation. You have a file of numbers. You have a set of gibberish which looks like gibberish that is recognized by the Bitcoin algorithm as the equivalent of 1 Bitcoin. It is a set of numbers. So, in digital cash, the cash or money or currency exists in the form of numbers, digits. So, that is the big thing. It is different from notational money, different from physical token money. Money exists solely in the form of digits. It can be digital cash or it can be cryptocurrencies, two different, they are not the same. The cash, online cash, what should I say, virtual cash issued by various countries is actually digital cash, not cryptocurrency. We will go into that later. Currency that exists in digital form as digits, as a set of bits and bytes in a file is called digital. Okay. Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin are examples of digital cash. Which digital cash, you can see there are so many advantages. Easy to store, easy to transfer. I put it in a file in my mobile, I can pull it out whenever I want. We can make copies. It does not cost very little to mint the coin, it costs money. To print a note, it costs money. Digital cash, no. So many benefits. One big problem, it is called double spending. Let us see what happens. What do you mean by double spending? Okay. Cash transaction. Before, I have currency notes, let us say we are not doing barter, we are doing cash. I have cash, B has mango, I buy a mango, I no longer have cash, B has the cash, done, right. Atomic, permanent, consistent, other features. Let us see what happens in a digital transaction. Before, I had this file copy of digits, I did not have any token, I had the numbers, there is a mango. Now, after the transaction, B has given me the mango, I have sent him the file, I also have the copy of the file. These two are identical, no way you can prove they are different, can't even. I can even manipulate the ownership if it changes. How do we solve this problem? We need to make sure that the end of the transaction, to make it permanent and atomic, I should not have this. You can't ensure that. I can make any number of copies. So, I can keep using the same file. So, this is the problem called double spending. Because I give you the token, I still have an exact identical copy of the token. This is the biggest problem to be handled in with all the desirable characteristics. Solving the problem of digital double spending was the biggest challenge in fintech. Once that problem was solved, we will see how that is how fintech really exploded, especially cryptocurrencies, once this problem of double spending was solved. Okay. So, with that we come to some of the basics of fintech. Foundation of fintech is money. We have looked at what exactly is money, what are the key functions it performs, store of value, unit of exchange, medium of exchange, things like that. The desirable characteristics, what are the forms of money, how does money get its value, historically what forms it has taken, in what forms can it modify, what are its characteristic features, how it causes inflation, how it causes deflation, why are they important, why do we need to understand all these concepts. Further, these are all the physical manifestations of money, including token money, which can be converted into physical money. How is electronic money, digital money different? Our entire foundation of fintech is the digital currency, digital cash, and how is it very different from other forms of money, and what is the biggest challenge of digital cash or non-denominational non-token money, that is double spending. We will see how the problem of double spending was solved in the future classes, but at this point let us understand this. There is a concept of regular money, token money, notational money, there is digital cash, there is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency also is a form of digital cash with very different differences, but the key thing to both of this, the problem to be solved in making digital cash and cryptocurrency valid like a regular currency, is to solve this problem of double spending, where I cannot use the same token for multiple transactions. We will see aspects of this in the further classes. With that, we come to the end of the second session. This was broadcast on Swayam Prabha channel 16. Thank you.